Middlesbrough are cooking on gas, and that is because the club have struck another blockbuster deal this week. Middlesbrough already signed Will Lancashire from Tottenham Hotspur in a deal worth up to £20 million earlier on in the week, and now the club have struck an agreement to sign Sebastian Berhalter from Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS. Now, the USA international has been away with his national team in the World Cup, enjoyed a really promising tournament. Scored a goal, got an assist against Turkey during the group stages and was really impressive. And for Middlesbrough, that has been enough for them to swoop in and get this deal done. Now, there's been a lot of interest in Berhalter. Around about 10 clubs across Europe have been keen on a deal, but Middlesbrough have struck an agreement worth, according to The Athletic, worth around about $2 million, which equates to around about £1.5 million. So this feels like a real coup for Middlesbrough, a really promising signing for a player of such pedigree, someone who's got such international class, and someone who at 25 years of age is really coming into the prime years of his career. Now, Berhalter is a player who may not be a familiar name with a lot of Middlesbrough supporters. Middlesbrough have been keen on him for a little while, so you might have seen his name floating around on social media and that sort of thing. But he is someone who has enjoyed a really good time with Vancouver Whitecaps of late. In total, for the club, he's made 167 appearances. He scored 20 goals and provided 26 assists along the way. Last season, the 2025 campaign, I should say, made 29 appearances in the MLS, scored 4 goals and provided 10 assists for his club. And this season so far, despite only making 14 appearances, of course the MLS is only around about halfway through, he scored 6 goals and provided 4 assists. Now, it's thought that while Middlesbrough is not yet known exactly what the profile of a player will be in terms of replacing Hayden Hackney, of course Hayden Hackney was the player who was the real creative force in central midfield for Middlesbrough, getting lots of assists, breaking out of midfield, linking the midfield in the attack. It feels like Berhalter's going to be the closest thing that we have to that, but perhaps someone who's going to be offering a little bit more in terms of being a box-to-box player, someone who's going to get forward, not just link the midfield in the attack, but also chip in with assists, chip in with goals as well. Because ultimately Middlesbrough need that kind of player. We need someone who's going to be chipping in and helping the forward players with a few more goals this season. It was really where we fell short last term, just sort of finishing those chances. And to have another player in central midfield who's a sort of renowned source of goals, even if it's just 5 or so over the course of the campaign, that could be a really exciting thing. So Berhalter, a really exciting talent, really. Someone who fills a really problem position for Middlesbrough. Of course, Hayden Hackney left for Everton. As we said, Alan Brown returned to Sunderland. We've got a couple of other players in there who have uncertain futures, people like Abdoulaye Kante. Law McCabe, it's not yet known where exactly he's going to feature. Aidan Morris really is the only sort of senior central midfielder that we've got, a sort of typical central midfielder. There's always the argument that Riley McGree could play there. Miles Peart-Harris played in central midfield against Celtic, and he's spoken in the media and said that playing as a number 8 is actually his preferred position, so perhaps he could be an option in there, but it does feel like Berhalter will be coming in as that first choice central midfielder, perhaps the first choice partner for Aidan Morris, and you can maybe see how that relationship is going to work. Of course, on the surface level, both US internationals, players who know each other from the international camp, that sort of thing. But of course, in Aidan Morris, you've got someone who's really tidy on the ball, is industrious, keeps the game ticking over. And then in Berhalter, you've perhaps got a player who is maybe a little bit better moving forward, more of a classic number 8, someone who's going to move forward, be a box-to-box player, arrive in the penalty area, score a few goals and chip in with some assists. So a really exciting signing, and it just feels like Middlesbrough's transfer window was really clicking into gear right now. I've been away over the last couple of days, so completely missed the Will Lancashire signing. Well, of course, I saw it on social media, but because I was away, I wasn't able to record a video on it. It was just typical that the big signing of the summer came when I was away. I probably missed the boat on that one now, but that was a really exciting piece of business. Of course, signing him for up to £20 million is a significant outlay. Of course, that features add-ons and that sort of thing. But I think for Middlesbrough, it was so important to sign a top striker because that was one of our top priorities this summer. A central midfielder was the next priority on the list for me because, of course, replacing Hayden Hackney was always going to be a really difficult challenge for us. I think when he moved on to Everton, it was probably a good thing for Middlesbrough to get that deal done nice and early, but of course it was always going to be a big ask to go out there and sign someone who can come in and be just as productive from an attacking point of view as what Hayden Hackney was, someone who can offer something different to the attacking line. And it does feel like Berhalter could be that player to come in and really make a difference. So as it stands at the moment, the deal's not completed at just yet. Middlesbrough closing in on that deal. It's understood that they're close to finalising that deal. The midfielder had been absent on Thursday morning when the Whitecaps resumed their MLS campaign following the World Cup, as negotiations with Middlesbrough reached an advanced stage, and now it seems like that move is sort of gathering pace, and hopefully this could be a deal that will be done in the coming days. Of course, it would likely be that the full sign-off on the agreement in terms of personal terms and everything would need to be done. He would then need to head over to England to complete a medical and that sort of thing. So given that we're, at the time of recording on Thursday evening, you could be looking at the weekend, maybe early next week, before you're looking at this deal being completed. But certainly, given that we've got a good couple of weeks before the season gets underway, it feels like a really, really good time to start clicking into gear with these transfers. I think with Lancashire, with Berhalter coming in, of course, we've signed Kyle Joseph, we've signed Pert Harris as well. We're really starting to tick off some of these really important positions, which is great, because just a week or so ago, fans were starting to get a little bit nervous ahead of the start of the new season, thinking that we've got these massive holes in the team and how are we going to be able to hit the ground running this season. Of course, last season ended in such heartache that it was so important that we get this campaign off to the best possible start. And ultimately, transfers are difficult to do. I think when you are signing top quality players, particularly players who've been at the World Cup or players who are still somewhat in contention at their clubs, it does take a little bit of time to get these negotiations done, for clubs to decide whether these players are going to feature in their plan. And so fans do need to be patient a little bit, but it's been great that this week already, with Will Lancashire and with Berhalter now, that fans are starting to see a couple of wins coming in, some big signings, and I think for them it's really good that we're clearly meaning business going into this next campaign. After falling short in the playoff final, the next step is for us to go one step further and secure promotion, and for us to do that, we need to be decisive in the transfer market. We need to be bringing in top quality players, and it seems, particularly based on this week, that Middlesbrough are doing exactly that in order to make sure that we can get the season off to a flying start in just a couple of weeks' time. So, of course, a week in 9 days' time, Middlesbrough have their final friendly of the season at home. That's at the Riverside against Espanyol. Following week after that, we've got Wrexham in the Carabao Cup first round. That's the first competitive game of the season, but it's probably going to be seen as a bit of a stepping stone from pre-season into the actual season. Then, of course, the week after that, the big kick-off, the first championship game of the season against Lincoln City. So we've got a good 3 weeks or so to get this squad together, maybe get a couple more signings over the line. But certainly with Will Lancashire on board, he's now in full training with the club. That's great for him to have some time to train with his new teammates ahead of the new season. And then with Berhalter as well, it gives a bit of time to hopefully get that deal fully over the line. As I said, it's not finalised yet, but it is certainly heading that way. If we can get that deal over the line, that would be brilliant, and it could give him a couple of weeks' time to adapt to life in the UK, adapt to life with the Middlesbrough teammates, and then get off to a relatively quick start when Middlesbrough season kicks off in just a couple of weeks' time. So I want to know what you think about this one. What do you think about the deal to sign Seb Berhalter, and where do you think he will fit in to Middlesbrough's team this season? Drop into the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this one, and if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like, please do hit subscribe as well, and I will catch up with you next time.